Yeah. All right. Well, let's ask someone who has an important voice in this conversation. Republican Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma. He is a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Senator, very grateful to have you on the show today. We've played quite a few clips of your colleagues and where they come down in terms of what they think President Trump should do. So let me just put it to you directly. Do you think President Trump should use the American military to shut down Iran's nuclear program with military force?
With a direct threat to the United States, yes, that is the role of the President of the United States. That was the case in 2020 with Soleimani, that he was actively preparing to be able to attack American troops and forces. And so we struck first to be able to defend Americans. So if America is directly involved in a direct threat towards us, yes, you act first to be able to protect American lives. If not, no, you do not. That is something that we have stayed out of.
So do you think that the current situation represents one where we are under direct threat? Clearly, the Israelis have been moving to do this, to take on their program with military force instead of with diplomatic talks, but they can't finish the job without us. Is the threat sufficient right now, in your mind, to use those American bunker-busting bombs to end this program?
Yeah, so there's a couple of questions there. One is the bunker busting bombs. I hear a lot of conversation about that, say it's going to take Americans to be able to take on Natanz because it's deeply buried in a mountain. Everybody seems to forget that there's also enriched uranium, about 900 pounds, that's actually stored in that area. So when you're talking about dropping a bunker busting bomb, you're talking about burying enriched uranium inside of a mountain tunnel system. That may not be the best thing for us to do, regardless of we're engaged or not. So I think we need to be careful in talking about, let's just drop a bomb on it. It's all so burying enriched uranium. That's not a good idea to be able to leave there. So there's got to be some other sources and ways to be able to deal with this issue. Quite frankly, I go back again. If America is directly threatened, the president has a responsibility to be able to protect American lives. Right now, this is an issue between Israel and the United States, with one caveat on that. There are 700,000 Americans that live in Israel. So what happens there does affect America, because 700,000 Americans are in Israel right now.
It sounds to me like you're almost coming down on the side of restraint here, absent a direct threat to Americans living in Israel or American assets in the region. Am I reading you correctly there?
Yeah. No, I think you should. That is where I'm trying to come on this. We should never rush into a for is our conflict. This is loss of life. This is all kinds of consequences that are unknown after the fact. But when we are attacked, when we are threatened, we can't just sit back and pretend it's not going to happen. If 9/11 taught us anything, when people chant death to America thousands of miles away, that does have consequences. They can carry that out. And the Iranians have been diligent to be able to attack our vessels through the Houthis in Yemen. They have forces in Iraq. They have definitely come at our ally Israel. But remember, this is the same Iran and the same Ayatollah who has led the death to America, death to the Jews chant, and is also focused on trying to be able to assassinate former members of Trump's cabinet, President Trump himself. So this is not just a passive entity that's out there that just talk. They've been active in trying to be able to kill Americans in the past. So they're dancing on a threshold there, seeing how close they can get to attacking Americans without our response.
So speaking of the supreme leader, the president posted on his Truth Social platform that America knows where he is, that we could, it implied, assassinate him, but we will not for the moment. Do you think the United States should assassinate the supreme leader if they can?
The assassination of any individual and any foreign dignitary or leader on this, but we most certainly need to have regime change in Iran. This is the same regime that's threatened America and Americans. This is the same regime that oppresses their own people, that they use the money that they get from oil money to be able to put towards terrorism, to be able to kill us and our allies. They chant death to America in the streets. We definitely need a new regime there, but that's not necessarily saying that we need to be able to assassinate the Ayatollah as well. But we definitely need to have new leadership there.
Senator, before I let you go, I do want to ask you about another major story that's been affecting us here at home, and that is, of course, the killing of the former State House of Minnesota and her husband, as well as the shooting of another lawmaker and his spouse, a hit list that seems to include a number of other members of Congress. I'd like to ask you, do you feel safe doing your job every day with the level of security that you have, considering what we're seeing happen out there?
Yeah, let me say a couple of things on that if I can. One is incredibly painful. When the news that came out, I happened to be home with my wife, and we both just sat there and watched the news, just grieved and thinking, how can this be America? We watched the attempted assassination, in fact, two attempted assassinations on President Trump's life. We just watched the assassination of political leaders, state leaders that are there in Minnesota. So this is awful. But I would tell you, all of us as members of Congress face death threats on a regular basis. There have been, just in the past year, 9,000 threats against members of Congress. This is accelerating in what's actually happening. Flippant to not only let people online, but to move from yelling at people online to now saying, I'm going to come kill you, or I'm going to kill your family, or I'm going to threaten you, or I'm going to just tell people I know where you live and I could come kill you at any point. This constant culture that is growing and the threats that are coming out online and through voice and through other ways is destabilizing to a nation. So we as a nation have to learn how to be able to speak to each other again, how to be able to disagree. But yes, we all face fears and threats that are coming at us constantly, but that cannot deter us from doing the job that we have been asked by our state and by our constituents to be able to do.
Yeah. Very briefly, sir, considering all that, and I take it to heart. Your colleague, Senator Mike Lee, posted about this in the immediate aftermath, called it "Nightmare on Waltz Street," seeming to refer to the governor. Do you think that that was the right move in the aftermath of this tragedy?
That this is a moment to be able to say we grieve for those families. We hate all violence like this. This is not America. This is not who we are. We disagree strongly on political issues, and we protest in the streets peacefully. I have to tell you, on my streets in Oklahoma, there were thousands of people in the No Kings rally that happened in Oklahoma. They went to the streets. They spoke out. It was peaceful. There were no threats. There was no violence. There was no shattering of windows or anything like that. They came and spoke their mind, and I said, good for you. That is your right to be able to do that. They got to speak their mind. But when it moves to threats and challenges against people, that's a whole different issue on that. And we've got to be able to pull back and call it what it is. That's wrong and illegal and immoral.
So do you think this Senator Lee was wrong to put that up? He did delete it, I should note.
Seen a comment that he made about that. Past that point, I've not talked to him about it. But I would tell you, that's not what I'm going to post. It's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to call it what it is. That's an awful, immoral, illegal act, and that we as Americans should be better than that.
All right. Senator James Lankford, very grateful to have your voice on the show today, sir. Thanks very much for being here.
Thanks. Good to see you again.
You too.